waifus, trade fights for better views. We both need something new. Maybe we should just tell them.
Hello, hive-minded readers, and welcome to the Books and the Bees podcast. Just like bees play a crucial role in pollinating flowers and sustaining life, books pollinate minds and nurture the soul. We see the connection between the two, the delicate dance of ideas and stories that enrich our lives.
I'm Hailey.
And I'm Cody.
Welcome to our podcast.
Hello, Hailey.
Hello.
Episode something. 32. Episode 32. Oh, man.
Yeah,
how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good.
Yay.
I was going to say tired, but I'm not tired. That's not true. I'm enjoying my last day of PTO before I go back to the office tomorrow.
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, yeah. I mean, having Monday off is nice, but it always makes the week feel really weird to me. So, because Tuesday feels like Monday and so on and so on, but then you still got a 4-day week, so that's always nice.
Exactly. And last week I only had a 3-day week, which was really nice because it was my first week at the new job. So, having not a full week for the first couple weeks is, I feel like, going to be really nice.
Yeah.
Less pressure, less... and I have to commute a little bit. Not too bad, but still, it's enough to be kind of draining, so, yeah.
Yeah. Any commute, honestly, is the pain.
Truly, especially going from working from home for the last 4 years to... Yeah, it's been quite the change, but that's okay. I'm taking it in stride. So. Well,
if you run for president, you can work from home again.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list. That's next in the docket, actually.
Oh, perfect. Today you're announcing your campaign.
Yeah. 20... I was going to say, how old am I? What age do you have to be? 45 to run for president? 30? I don't know.
35.
35? Oh, okay. So... I'm trying to...
got
6 years? Yeah, I got 6 years. It's 2024.
So 2030?
So 2030? Yeah, 2030 I'll run for president.
Hell yeah. That's a good round number, too.
Yeah. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, it'll be perfect.
It'll be my 36th birthday present to myself.
Although it won't be a presidential election that year. It'll be 32.
Oh, well, I guess. Okay. Well, I'll start my campaigning, though. It's good to get,
True. You're right. Yeah. Good point.
I'll make sure to tell my husband. Next plan, life goal, is presidency. I can't wait to also tell my therapist that.
Yeah, I'm sure both of them would be very excited about that.
She'd be like, but remember how we talked about small goals?
It's like, this is just one thing, just president. That's one thing.
It's just one thing.
You're just doing one thing.
Exactly.
It's chill.
It's so unserious.
It's like no big deal. Everybody does it, right?
Listen,
and it's fine.
Listen, in the words of Elle Woods, what? Like, it's hard?
Oh, I love it.
She's my idol. I love her so much.
I think this is the first time we brought her up in the podcast, too.
I think so, too. Listen, that movie, along with many episodes of Law & Order, made me want to be a lawyer so bad when I was younger.
I loved Law & Order when I was a kid. I was so addicted to that show. I
should not have been watching Law & Order at the age that I was, but it's such a good show. I mean, I don't know about nowadays, but it's so good.
Yeah, and like SVU was so good to watch.
Yes.
It definitely was not appropriate, but it was super good.
Yes. Benson, listen, she's a good role model.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
I feel like we really tangented.
Yeah,
well, how's your week been? How are you?
Good. We're moving.
Yeah.
A week from today, as we're recording this. We're recording on a Monday, which is kind of weird, but we're packing up and moving to Virginia. So
West Virginia.
My life is in boxes, and I hate looking at them. I can even see them on the camera right now, and I'm just irritated that they're even in camera. But we're excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited for you guys.
Definitely for a few years.
Yeah. I hope the drive isn't too terrible. I hope it's good and
Yeah.
get to see stuff at least.
We did, we called our vet to get, because we have 2 cats, we called our vet to get gabapentin and some sort of anti-nausea for the cats. So
Probably
hopefully they will not cry themselves to death.
I'm trying to think of what the nausea meds are. Naloxone? That doesn't sound right. Zofran. That's where I was looking for.
Yeah, I was wondering if it might be Zofran. They didn't tell me, but yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, so we're going to knock them the hell out because we are trying to do like 3 12-hour plus days.
Hell yeah. You guys can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah, I think we'll get there. I reserved the U-Haul this morning or last night. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Are you guys going to like trade off driving or?
So my wife is not very good at driving big rigs. So my in-laws are driving with us.
Oh, nice.
And so they might help, but it's probably going to be mostly me. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's only for 3 days, and then we'll get to rest for basically the rest of the week. So
Yeah, that'll be nice. You get set up and situated and acclimated and all. You get to be in the land of the humidity.
Yep, sure do. Yeah, it looks like I've been looking at the weather. It's like 85, 90s with 70% humidity, 80% humidity. So yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, your skin's going to love you for it, trust me.
My skin is going to love me for it. That is so true.
Yes.
And my lungs, like I can't wait to breathe normally. It's going to be great.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll be different.
Awesome.
It'll be fun. Well, should we jump into what we're reading?
Yeah.
Cool. What are you reading, Hailey?
I am still reading The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey and
Hell yeah.
the other book. Oh my god, what was the other book that I was reading? How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager by Bryn. Yeah.
Yes.
It's still really good. It's got like a little bit of a mystery kind of, not mystery, what's the word I'm looking for, like a investigation type like vibe to it.
Nice.
Which is nice, and kind of getting into like the more actiony, like the plot's thickening type of situation. So
Oh, good.
yeah, and then I haven't really gotten very far into the Au Pair Affair because I've just been, these last few days have been very busy for me. So
we do have a short turnaround on recording, so you'll have to forgive us for not being very far.
Yeah, but I did, in kind of like a news but not news, I went to Barnes & Noble on the west side. For those who don't know, in like Washington state terms, the west side is just the western side of the Cascades.
The rainy side.
Yeah, the rainy side.
Yeah.
I'm not from the rainy side. I'm from the drier side. That sounds so strange. But yeah, and I bought like 10 books or some damn thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bought the rest of the, well, no, they're missing like one book from the collection, because I already have the first 3-4 of the books. No, I have the first 3 of the books, but I needed the last 4, and they didn't have one of them, but I did buy 3 of the Chloe Lease books, the Bergman brothers. I think I've talked about it in previous episodes. But yeah, and then I got Cleat Cute, which has been on my TBR. I got the last 2 books in the Four Horsemen, Death and Famine, which I'm really excited to get into. They are thick books. And then I got Rhapsodic. I feel like haven't actually heard that word pronounced in real life. So, also by Laura Thalassa, who also did the Four Horsemen, and I'm very excited to start it. Oh, and then I got the Juno Dawson book, The Royal Coven.
Let's go.
So I'm very excited to read that one. Yeah,
that's gonna be good. You're gonna love it.
Yeah. I counted, and I have like 20 books, obviously including these ones that I just got, to kind of like fluff out the rest of the year. So yeah,
cool.
I'm excited.
Gotta love that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love that. And you also got that time I got drunk and saved a demon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the other ones that I got. And then I also got a book called Do Your Worst by Rosie.
Yes.
I can't read what the last name is. Dannon? I think it says Dannon.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But yeah.
I've heard that one sounds good to me. I mean, they all sound good, but I remember seeing that one and thinking it looked good when I was there last.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like I got a good, what's the word that I'm looking for? Variety? There we go. Good variety of books. So.
Hell yeah. We'd love to see it. Mm-hmm. Love to see it. Love to see a book buying.
Yes. And I'm really excited for you to talk about what you're reading. So what are you reading, Cody?
I am reading the podcast favorite Done and Dusted by Lyla Sage, which I know we've talked about it many times. I mean, you've talked about it many times. I've never really talked about it before, but so it's, the synopsis is basically this girl, her name's Emmy, but her full name is Clementine, and she goes back to her hometown in Wyoming after leaving a boyfriend, and she's kind of experienced a traumatic situation in her rodeo life. She's a barrel racer, and she meets her brother's best friend, and basically like lifelong kind of like frenemy, I guess is kind of how you would describe it, and a romance kind of sparks from it. And it's really good. I'm like 60% through. It is super fast paced. It's just like a very quick, nice romance. It feels so. I'm from Idaho, so it feels like I know the town they're describing really well. I have been to small town bars like the one they describe a lot. I've been to many a rodeo, so there is just so much familiarity here, and the characters are super fun. And I just got to the first romancy bit, and it was very good. I would definitely put it. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, but at least a 3, at least a hive hug for me. Yeah. With the romance that I've seen so far, I'm not sure. There hasn't been a lot of romance, but the romance scene that I saw was pretty spicy. So I would maybe put it at a 3 for now, and maybe higher if it gets more romancy as it goes. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you to finish it.
I'll probably finish it today because I'm trying to get into arcs because I have 3 arcs that come up in the next 2 of them come up on the first week of September, and then 1 comes up in the middle part of September. So I'm like a little bit behind on my arcs. So I'll probably finish this and work on some arcs.
That actually is a great reminder of me because I need to talk about one of the arcs that I definitely finished.
Yay! Jump into it.
That's so funny. I finished it on Wednesday night, or maybe it was Thursday morning. I don't remember. My life has been a whirlwind the last few days. But it's called D-Witch by Sophie H. Morgan. And the published date is August, so tomorrow when this... No, not this one. The next one releases, which, sorry. So it's maybe a week late. Should have probably talked about it in the last episode, but I didn't. But the published date is August 20th, so by the time you're hearing this, it's out. Go get it. It's really good. It's kind of a human in the, witches are their own social group, I guess, for lack of a better term, where they're a society that you just don't talk about. It's hush hush. Humans aren't supposed to know. And this gal, her name's Leah Turner. She sneaks into a witch high society masked ball and basically was don't get discovered. And she ends up meeting the other main character, and she knows that he's a witch, but he doesn't know that she's a human. He kind of, by things that I'm not going to get into because it'll be spoilery, ends up in the human world and kind of has to navigate the human world as a witch that isn't very familiar with the human world and isn't allowed to use any of his magic. And she kind of helps him traverse his human worldness, and
Damn.
it's really good. It kind of took me a little bit to get into, not because of the book itself, but just because of like my life timing and stuff. Because I started it and got into it, and then I had to put it down, but once I picked it back up, I literally read it in a day. So, very good book.
It sounds really good. Sounds like something I'd like a lot too.
Yeah, no, I think you'd really like it, and it is book 2.
Oh,
of
shit.
a series. So, in typical fashion, I literally don't know why this keeps happening to me. I didn't realize that it was a second book when I requested it. So the first book is The Witch is Back, and I don't know anything about the first book. My apologies to the author. So maybe read that first, but honestly, without reading the first book, reading the second book, I didn't feel like I was missing any information. I didn't feel like I was like reading a book that I shouldn't have been reading in a series. So that was kind of nice, and I really love when book series do that, when you can kind of read each book as a standalone or as a unit. So yeah, it's really good. Comes out on August 20th of this year, and I highly recommend it. And it really wasn't that spicy, at least for my standards, or to my, preferences. So I'd probably put it maybe like a 3-4-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, between a 3 and a 4.
Okay.
Hive Hug, Beekeeper's Passion on the honey scale.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. No, it sounds really good. I would definitely enjoy it, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think you'd really like it, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put the first one on my list and
Yes.
try to read that one first.
Yes, put the first one on your list, then read the second one.
I did almost, because I think I even did it on the podcast. Like, I was thinking that Swift and Saddled was the first one in the series, but then you corrected me. It was like, no, it's Done and Dusted. I was like, oh, good. So then I reserved Done and Dusted and not Swift and Saddled first. But now that I've read at least half of Done and Dusted, I now have Swift and Saddled up on my queue.
Hell yeah.
For coming up. So I think it's like 6 weeks out, but yeah, cool.
I'm so excited for you to finish Done and Dusted and tell me the rest that you if you like it after you finished it total. And it's
I think it's gonna be good. I think I'm gonna love it. It's very much a nice Western romance for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool. Should we jump into beekeeping?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, we only have one beekeeping item this week, and it's unfortunately more bad news. I was actually looking for like some good news in the book world, and I didn't see a lot. So sorry that we're bringing bad news, but Tennessee High School, Green Hill High School in Wilson County, Tennessee, has closed its library in preparation for the new school year, so staff can check the entire collection to make sure they are in compliance with the new law that went into effect on July 1st, which basically requires school to maintain and post lists of the materials in their libraries and to evaluate challenge materials to determine whether or not they are age appropriate. So they have to shut down, I think, for the whole year so that they can check every book in their system and make sure it's not out of compliance, which to me is ridiculous. And of course, all the stuff that they're flagging is LGBTQ books, any book that has sexual conduct, sexual violence, all of that is being listed. And so it's stupid. It's stupid and dumb.
It is stupid and dumb. And I'd be curious to know what the conventions are that they're using to dictate, like, this has this, and this this has LGBTQ, or this has whatever, which I guess it does say specifically on materials that contain nudity or descriptions or depictions of sexual excitement. See, but sexual excitement, that's just weird. What a weird phrase.
Yeah. Like, it could be a lot of things. Could be a lot of things.
Yeah, like how, I guess, from a like lawmaking perspective, when you make laws, when you put things into out there into the society for people, laws essentially, I don't know how else to explain it, you have to you have to define each phrase or have to be able to define each phrase, because if someone were to come in and maybe appeal this law, challenge it, whatever, or bill, whatever, I'd be interested to know if they can define them, what they would define these what's the word I'm looking for? These phrases as, and the examples that they would use to determine. Because the reason why I'm saying that is because when it specifically the sexual excitement, what do you mean sexual excitement? What does that mean to you? What does that mean as a law? When you define it in a law, what are you using that to define sexual excitement? You know what I mean? I just think it's so... I mean, we know it's freaking stupid that they're even doing any of this shit. But in general, like, I feel like lawmakers just do this shit and then they expect people to not ever challenge it. And I cannot wait for people to start challenging this. Because I feel like it not only does it obviously, like, go against, you know, freedom of speech, etc., all those fun things, but, like, and that's coming from someone who isn't very, like, well-versed in, not that I'm not well-versed in the Constitution, but, like, well-versed in, like, the legal jargon world. I don't know. That, it's stupid. And I am hopeful that in the years to come, we'll put it that way, that these bills, these laws, whatever, are, what's the word I'm looking for? Are taken down. I don't know, for lack of a better term. And done away with. I think that, I hope that it's, in the future, made illegal to do any of this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Tennessee's page right now trying to see if I can find, like, specific nomenclature, and of course it is, like, so hard to actually find anything that's helpful, so, which I'm sure it's by design because they don't want people to be able to look at it very easily. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, would a health education textbook fall under this? Like, it's high school, so they're in health ed. You're gonna learn about what causes sexual excitement. That's like 101 of sex ed. Like, where does it end? Where does it end?
Yeah, exactly. And nudity or descriptions or like nudity, you're gonna, exactly what you just said, like, you're gonna go into the health classes and be like, no, you can't have a picture of genitalia, anatomical genitalia. Like, come on, people.
Anatomy classes.
Exactly.
Like,
biology. You're gonna tell me that people can't read about biology? Like, please. And also, I feel so freaking bad for the librarians and staff that have to fucking go into this school, go through an entire, because, right, who's doing this? Who's having to do all this work? The teachers, the librarians that are already understaffed and underpaid. How dare you? Boo on you, Tennessee. Get your shit together. Sorry, that makes me so angry.
No, it's so, like, I can't imagine, like, if my library was closed for a whole year in my high school, that would be pandemonium, because, for one, we've talked about this before, but we both spent mornings in the library, like, before classes started. And I had classes that would go into the library. Like, I went to the library to learn how to look up resources for, like, English papers and stuff. So now we can't do that because the libraries are closed, because they have to go through every single book and make sure it's fit to this. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of taxpayer money.
It is.
It's way too much work for librarians, who are super underpaid, by the way, especially school librarians. Like, it's just not fair to anybody.
And is it... Oh, it says it's a high school. Okay, so... Yeah, I feel like closing... it's just ridiculous. Closing the library to... Just to freaking hash out an agenda of the lawmakers. What a bunch of bullshit. You know what? I hope that the students... If you're... I don't know. If you happen to be a student that comes across this podcast or some goddamn thing, I don't know. And you hear about this, and maybe this is your school... or you know of a school that's doing this or whatever, because obviously if it's one school, it's going to be other schools, are I hope that you guys freaking protest. I think it'd be a great opportunity to teach kids how to protest, to teach them about their rights, to teach them about the Constitution, to teach them about freedom of speech, to teach them about the judiciary process, about all of this. I think it's a great opportunity to learn and educate and acknowledge and protest.
Yeah. Riot, burn the school down. Don't take any prisoners. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
For legal purposes, that is a joke.
Yeah, that's all a joke. It's all a joke. Please don't sue us.
Yeah.
Please do not burn your school down. No. That would be counterproductive.
It would be. There's a so we can't have a library. We just won't have a school. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's definitely good. I hope you're right. I hope the government classes are using this as an example. People, or I should say students that are turning 18 this year that can vote, like, you should be considering who you should vote for. Again, we're not a political podcast, but, obviously you're going to want to vote for people who are not going to initiate these stupid book bans that are really pointless and cost more money to the state and are just actively biasing content for communities that are already underrepresented. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, always remember that any government official, any of them, Congress, senators, the president even, they do not work for anybody but the people.
Yep.
They are representatives of the people. They get paid, some of them, by our tax dollars that so they're essentially, the way I look at it anyways, the way it makes me sleep better at night, they work for me. So get on it. Do your job.
Yep.
So yeah, always remember that. They
do
work
better,
for us.
Tennessee.
Yeah, do better, seriously.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it's only one school that we saw so far, but I'm guessing it's gonna be more, because how in the world? I remember, like, when I worked in a middle school library as like a student worker for a class, and we did go through all the books, and it took us the whole time, but we had one worker, like student worker, per each section. So, like, if you remember the Dewey, and that was only nonfiction actually. So if you remember the Dewey Decimal System, like, we had a student that was like 100 to 200, another one that was 200, 300, and then so on and so on. And so, yeah, it took us forever to go through and like catalog just what we had and didn't have on the shelves, because this was like around the time that the like internet systems were becoming more popular, and so we were still kind of dependent on physical ones at the time. But it's crazy. Like, you're asking a lot for shit that doesn't, at the end of the day, is just a waste of time.
Yeah,
and stupid.
No, I agree. And it's a public school, which is even crazier. Right. I was thinking maybe this would be like a private school, which, like, they can do whatever the fuck they want in private schools. But a public school, that's insane. Your tax dollars are paying for that. Don't let that stand.
Yeah, I know, it's bullshit. Go fight, Tennessee. Go fight.
Yeah, go do it. Get out there.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week I'll try to find some more uplifting beekeeping.
Listen, we're living in times, okay?
we are living in times, that's for sure. Oh God, every week it's like another book ban.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Gotta find some unbook bans.
Yes. Like Illinois.
Yeah, exactly.
Banned book banning. Like, how good is that?
They said not in our state.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, none of that'll be happening. Yeah. So should we move on to the main event of this episode?
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who missed last week, we are going to be covering An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson, and we are finishing the book today. So this will be specifically chapter 16 through 30. I think 30 is the last chapter. But the end of the book, whatever the end of the last chapter is. But we'll probably cover themes of the earlier chapter too. So, if you have not read it yet and don't want to be spoiled, now would be a good time to pause and go read it and come back, because we're going to be spoilery, and I'm too obsessed with this book to not get into depth with it. So, it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. Just the, like I talked about last week, but the vibes of this book with the dark academia and the romance, that's very like, you know, dark and kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
It's just hard to put the book down. I ended up absorbing the second half of this book because it was just so hard to put the book down.
Yeah, I literally finished from chapter 18 to 30 last night in like 3 hours.
Wow.
I like speed read through it.
Speed read.
It was, I just like, I couldn't stop. And like,
yeah,
I feel like so much happened too, and like there's so much to unpack out of the last 15 chapters. Like, well, 14 I guess, since we went through chapter 15, but still. Right. Oh gosh, like, and I was honest. So in the first part of the book through chapter 15, I was like, oh, okay, like it's a little like, you know, kind of a little bit more off the page romance than I was expecting.
Yes, I agreed. I agree with that.
And then it felt like as soon as you got into like, I don't know, I don't remember what chapter it was, maybe like 20 or some goddamn thing. Like, it gets spicy.
Yeah, it jumped up pretty quickly.
I was like, oh, it went from like 0 to orgy real quick.
Yeah, like literally 0 to orgy.
Literally.
Like, yeah. I felt the same way, and I was, because when it was advertised to me, it was advertised as like a kind of like a BDSM romance book, and I was like, okay, well, this is like, you know, this will be up Hailey's alley. This will be something that I could enjoy. And then the first half of the book, I was like, well, it's not really like BDSM.
Yeah.
But then the second half, you know, it still wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but it definitely like spiced up quick.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was like pleasantly surprised, I guess, at how like much more spicy it got, which, not that I was on it. Honestly, this book without spice, amazing book still.
Oh, sure. 100%.
So like, I feel like the spice was just like a little like bonus, because even if it didn't have the spice, like if I had read this book in its entirety, I still would have been like, wow, that's such a good book.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like the real like sexual tension is not from the actual like sex scene, like which there's really, I think, one, right? Like the orgy scene when they go to the party and do it basically in front of everyone. To Laura's command, by the way, who's like the shy church girl. Hello. Talk about like a switch.
Yeah.
Damn. But like outside of that, the real sexual tension is like the actual act of being a vampire, where you're like taking someone's sustenance, and that really felt super, super intimate to me. And that was like the sexual tension throughout the book for me, was like those scenes.
Yeah. And also, like, for me, it was also kind of in the what's the word I'm looking for? The rivalry, I guess, that both Carmilla and Laura were doing for Professor De La Fontaine's, like, I don't even know how to explain it, like her
like
vying for her attention. But like not, and I really want to get into that too, about like De La Fontaine and her just like using these like, when I first started reading the first few chapters, I was like, okay, like this De La Fontaine just seems like she's like, you know, this very austere, like prestigious, like clearly like a vampire lady that's like, she's the professor. But the more I got, like, after finishing the book, I was like, she's like a predator through and through.
Oh yeah.
Like, not only a vampire, but also like, I don't want to say sexual predator, but like kinda, like because it hints at through the latter half of the book how she also used to help get girls to feed her sire, which I thought was like gross and icky. Like it not that it is gross icky, but it like made me feel icky. Like
Yeah.
reading it, and I was like, oh, so you're just like a bad person. Like,
No, it's she's so bad.
yeah.
And it's, yeah, she very much groomed Carmilla. Like,
Yeah.
from the beginning of the book, you could tell just how groomed Carmilla was by her. And then you kind of come to learn, for one, Laura was starting down that path too, and was able to, you know, divert it because of their relationship between Laura and Carmilla.
Yeah.
But then you learn, like, Delafontaine herself was basically groomed, and she's just doing what she was, what she had done to her by her sire, whose name was Iris. Was that the name of the, like, really
Isis.
old vampire?
Isis.
Yeah, and you learn how terrible she was, and then, like, all these, like, murders that happen, and Delafontaine's kind of like, well, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
I'll do something someday, basically. But yeah, it's like, it's fucked. It's fucked. How messed up these, like, the two older vampires were.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like even like the Magdalena something, the other
The one who
vampire
threw the
lady.
party.
Yes.
Yeah.
She seemed like she didn't really like Delafontaine either.
I picked up on that too. I agree with you. Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting, like an interesting kind of like addition to the book was like other vampires within the like socialite community didn't really like her either, which I feel like also was just like another testament to like how rotten Delafontaine actually was. I was like, wow, what a, like, she's just a creep.
Yeah.
And it, like, yeah.
I was gonna say, I did, like, because you kind of get the turn where, like, Laura and Carmilla start building their relationship, and Carmilla ends up getting disturbed by Delafontaine. Like, she doesn't want to touch her, she doesn't want to talk to her or spend time with her, and Delafontaine's like desperate for her attention again.
Yeah.
And so it kind of starts taking a turn where really you start realizing just how pitiful she is, and how if she doesn't have the attention of someone who's like not fully devoted to her, she collapses, and she turns into this like bitchy, just like, already she wasn't a good person, but now she just kind of shows it more elaborately, and she starts, you know, acting like a toddler in a lot of ways, and like, you just really, like, she turns into this pitiful creature that is really kind of sad when you think about it. Yeah, I didn't get the vibe. And she acts like she's so much better than everyone. She acts like she's too good for the sex party with all the vampires, and how she's too highbrow, and, you know, she's off reading poetry in the corner because she wants nothing to do with all this stuff. It's like, whatever, like, get over yourself.
I agree.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, through like latter half when the girls started, I keep wanting to say spoiler alerts, but if you're listening to this, you've read the book. I towards the latter half when the girls started dying, like the human girls like on campus, I was honestly expecting Eleanor to die. I was like waiting. I was like, she's gonna die. She's gonna get got, and then like Laura's gonna freak out, and she's gonna get pissed, and she's gonna like raise hell on Delafontaine. But I'm really glad that she didn't, because like, you don't really get a lot of her. I was really happy, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that the author put in the chapter or chapters about Laura going on vacation or holiday or whatever with Eleanor, and kind of giving Laura like a little like dose of like humanness, normalcy
Right.
amidst all the chaos.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But because I feel like we really didn't get that like secondary characters interaction as much throughout the first half of the book, so I was really excited to see kind of some other characters come into play.
Yeah, and I really liked Eleanor and like the friend group. I kind of wish that would have been fleshed out just a little bit more. But I get it. Like, it's obvious that the three main characters, you know, they're just so intertwined with what's happening with the story. But yeah, it was nice to have that reprieve, and you kind of get reminded where Laura came from, because you just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of forgot that she was the way she is, being from whatever, Mississippi, and like raised in a church basically, and all this stuff. So it kind of reminds you where she came from, and definitely reminded you of the character arc for sure.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that critique, I guess you could call it, but not really, is I know that this book, the story was set in the 60s. So it was a little surprising to me, like, throughout the book, and maybe this is just because I didn't obviously grow up in that era, but it felt like the characters, the school, the girls on campus, that's what I was trying to say, were a bit more accepting than I would think, I guess. They were a bit more loose with it, which I thought was a little odd given the time and also the setting. I mean, they're at an all-girls religious university. I really didn't or at least that's what I got from it. Maybe it was co-ed, I don't remember, but I feel like it was more just like all women. So it kind of like felt a little strange in some of the scenes where like they all went to that party and all the girls are just like being so like carefree with each other, which is great, and I love that because that's kind of more so how it is in today's society. But like, just given like the setting and stuff, I expected it to be a little bit more like secret and hush hush and like you know, which I think it did have, obviously, but it was more so focused on like fraternizing between De La Fontaine and students versus like girls hanging out together and like being affectionate and that sort of thing. I kind of chalked that up to
I don't know, you know how like sometimes history, like if you read like a historical fantasy or something, they kind of scrub away like the fact that everybody would have been all white or all straight to like be more inclusive, which is like, you know, obviously we're pro at that. That's the kind of the vibe I got was like, we're just gonna like pretend to rewrite this part of history a little bit so that's more okay.
This isn't necessarily a historically accurate retelling, but
and it doesn't have to be like that's the best part about fiction is like we don't have to like, sure, Game of Thrones is great because you know, it's such a good story, but like do we really do all the characters have to be white because that's what it was historically? No, like we don't have to be that way. That's kind of what I chalked it up to, but the vibe is a little bit, I could see that because, you know, it is like I'm pretty sure it's an all girls religious school. So that's definitely different. It's quite the book, honestly.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so well written. And I love the pacing of it.
Yes. It picks up like this second half, it picks up like it's so intense to read the latter half of this book.
Yes. Shit like really starts hitting the fan. Like
Yeah,
Isis basically is just like chaos. Let's go.
Like right after Camilla gets turned to a vampire. It's like nonstop, go. And it's just super fast paced in this latter half, and you kind of forget that they're even at college because they're like not going to classes and stuff. And that was also like part of the thing that like when I was reading I was like, wow, they're just out here freaking just not going to class. Okay, like I know that's like totally a thing, and like because I like no shame in the game because I was one of those kids where I was like, I'm in college, I don't have to go to class every day. But it was like, no, Carmella's just not going to class now, but she'll still pass. She's fine. It's like, okay, sure. But so the enemy to lovers is really good. Just the book is good. Love a good sapphic romance. It's been a while since I've read one.
No, I agree, and I feel like it's a very well written sapphic romance where it doesn't feel, I feel like sometimes it can almost feel a little corny, you know, where it's like, oh, the happily ever after, but this felt like there was still that like sense of like you had to work for it, there was that chemistry and like, but they had to like traverse obstacles sort of, I don't know, it just, oh god, I don't even know, like, I can't even put into words what this book reminds me of, but it literally feels like I'm, like, I don't know, like, if, like, I shifted back in time and, like, I'm reading a, like, novel that I shouldn't be reading because of, like, just the vibe. It's so good. I don't know how else to explain it.
No, it kind of reminds me of, like, R.F. Kuang just a little bit. It's not, like, it's not quite the same, but definitely the dark academia vibes remind me of it. Yeah, it's just like, and it's really not a big book. Like,
No.
I read it ebook. I think it's like 300 and something pages, but it feels like a lot happens in this book that is compact within those pages.
There's 342 in the physical copy.
Damn, did I call that or not?
Yeah.
Like, phew, yeah. No, it's really not that big of a book, but it feels like a lot happened in the story, and you definitely, like, when you finish it, you're like, wow, this is like a crazy story. Like, monumental story for sure. Yeah,
it really reminds me, and I've never read the book, obviously, and I feel like I mentioned this in the last episode of when we talked about the first half. It really truly reminds me of Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, very much that vibe, where it almost feels like a retelling of someone who, like, physically lived this.
Yeah.
And they're just, like, recanting, like, what had happened. As if
and she even mentioned, like, in the acknowledgments, didn't she mention, like, Interview with the Vampire as one of her, like,
maybe,
you know, top books?
Yeah, I only read a few things, because that is a really cool thing, and I'm assuming they probably have it in the non-physical copy, but they do have, like, a little like, Q&A in the back.
Mine did not have that.
Oh, really? Okay,
No.
that's so funny. After the acknowledgments in the book, the physical copy, there is, like, a little Q&A where, like, they ask the author, like, when did you first start writing? Can you tell us a bit about your writing process?
Wow.
Where did the idea for An Education Malice come from, and how did the story begin to take shape in your mind? Which the author mentions that they, I don't know if you want me to read it, but I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
yeah.
So it just says, the author said, I knew there was more I wanted to say about love, obsession, and the undying life after writing A Dowry of Blood, which I guess is the second book that this author wrote. And I have been in love with the dark academia literature since I first read The Secret History, the winter of my freshman year of college.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never heard of that book before. And then it says,
I haven't read it, but it's supposed to be very, very good.
Oh, really? Okay. And then it goes on to say, exploring those themes and motifs within the parentheses, very loose framework of one of the classics of sapphic and vampiric literature felt natural. But yeah, it's like, I mean, she talks about, or she gets asked, like, do you have a favorite scene? If you could spend time with any one of your characters, who would it be?
Oh, damn.
That's funny. The author describes Dale Fontaine's temperament as mercurial. That's so funny. I love when authors, this is such a, like, off-topic kind of thing, but I love when authors depict their characters as if they're, like real human beings. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It like tickles me, because I'm just like, it's so cool that, like, authors live in a world where they're like, no, my character wanted me to write like this. Or, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. I think is really interesting and cool.
And I feel like it shows too, because those are the types of characters that come out of the page. Like, Delafontaine, like, I was in her room with her when Laura and Carmilla were drinking that, like, fancy absinthe or whatever the fuck it was. Those are the characters that come out and really stick with you. Because they feel like real people. And same thing with, like, movies and, like, TV shows too. You can tell when the actor, like, put in work to make a true character backstory and like really put in that time, because they just stand out so much better.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would be remiss to not talk about the very end of the book, because we kind of left on a cliffhanger, which I actually like when books do this. I know a lot of people don't, but I like it when it's like up to you to decide whether or not something happened. And so we basically get to the point where Carmilla is, or wait, is it Carmilla that offers her blood, or
Miss, I can't remember,
yes, Magdalena, yeah, which is the one who threw the party, the orgy. She offers her blood to Laura, and we don't know what decision she makes. So my question, Hailey, is do you think she became a vampire, or do you think she chose not to?
I would like to think that she did. I would like to think that she became a vampire. However, there is a part of me that, while reading Laura's perspective, it just seemed like she really has this love for humanity.
Yes. Yeah. Especially after like the vacation and you know, all of that. Like, it definitely felt like she wasn't ready to give up her humanity yet.
But the other part of me, the wishfulness in me, thinks that she did, because I feel like there's a sense of like wanting to belong somewhere. And I feel like when she was at that like party, that I feel like she got that sense of like, I found my people or like I found my group kind of thing. Or at least she found people where maybe she kind of understood that it was like, they're not gonna judge you for the way that you compose or the way that you like carry yourself. Like it was a more free, I guess, that she was more free, and also obviously like her love for Carmilla. But yeah, I don't know, there's like a small part of me that thinks that maybe she didn't, just simply because of the humanity thing, and also because of the way that she might have been a little afraid that the infatuation aspect between Carmilla and De La Fontaine, I feel like maybe she like didn't want to do that, have that sort of relationship with Carmilla, and I feel like by becoming a vampire, it kind of crosses that line a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I agree with that.
But yeah, what do you think?
I'm in the same boat. I was hoping she would, but I could totally see her not doing it. I could see her maybe like waiting a little bit, because we're kind of losing the scope. They're all really young. Like Carmilla and Laura are like 19 or 20, maybe 21. Like, well, I think Carmilla's was getting ready to graduate. She's probably like 21, but Laura is starting college. So she's got to be like 18, maybe 19. That's a really early time to give up your humanity. I don't know if I was in her shoes, what decision I would make. If I was 18 or 19, I probably would do it. If I was this age, like 30, I would, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of being human and mortality. So yeah, I don't know what she would pick, but I was leaning towards her becoming a vampire. Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I did, it was interesting like how young they were throughout, because here's the thing about like getting older, you get perspective, and like you kind of realize that like the things that happened in your early 20s were a little bit more free or looser or whatever, because you were so young and you had a lot of people tend to give people who are under like the age of 25 a lot more leeway with life. Yes, that's true.
Than they do as you get closer and into your 30s. You don't get as much slack for mistakes and life instances that happen and that sort of thing, to fail and try again. So yeah,
and there's more at stake because, you know, at 30
Mm-hmm.
you should be like, the quote unquote world is like, you should be prepping for retirement, and like
Yeah.
this is the time where you're either having or have already had kids, and so now
Yeah.
you're shifting your focus to them, and you're thinking about like late term life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a vampire, you're not thinking that. You're thinking like, I'm gonna live for infinity, and I can continue to do whatever I want. So it definitely changes your perspective for sure.
Yeah. And Carmilla kind of gave me like party girl vibes, so
Yes, 100%.
so I feel like she like there's no slowing down for her, I feel like,
Yeah,
until maybe she hits like 300, and then she's like, been there, done that, don't care.
Yeah, whenever they like start becoming, because I mean, Delafonte, I think we learned she was like 100 and something years old.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned like the older you get, the less you look like a human and the less you're able to pass as a human. So, you know, I'm not sure if we really learn what that age is in this book, but yeah, it seems like Carmilla has a lot of life left to live before she has to worry about that kind of problem. So
Yes. And I would just also like to say how interesting of a take. I love reading vampire books because I feel like the vampires always end up so different. And I love seeing other people's takes on what vampirism is, or like the rules of their vampires. It's always interesting to me.
yeah, I agree. I think this is the most intimate I've felt from a vampire book. Like, it just really felt so intimate, and it is intimate. Like taking someone's blood to sustain yourself, I think is very intimate. And so, yeah, it was a really cool take. And I think I'll think of vampires a little bit differently after this, because now I'm going to be like, oh wow, like there's a lot that this person's taking from, you know, their victims, which I didn't really like think about before this book, outside of like just the horror of like a vampire, right? Because no one wants to get bitten by anything. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. And it, yeah, just super good take on vampires for sure.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think maybe that part or that piece is why it reminds me of Interview with the Vampire so much, because it almost felt like you were like getting a look at their world, like their actual world, not necessarily, and like no Tito shade to the other like vampire type stuff, but it wasn't like a Twilight where like it's I feel like in some vampire genre, some vampire spaces, books, whatever, they take on this very much like being a vampire is such a like I don't know what the word is, like powerful thing, and like you can't just become a vampire, like, you know, like that sort of thing. It didn't have that vibe. It had like, it wasn't like a you can't become a vampire because like I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just, I don't know, it definitely had a more intimate feel for sure. I agree.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I think it was like it wasn't like Laura wanted to be a vampire to become powerful, or even Carmilla. She didn't want to be a vampire.
Exactly.
It was like Carmilla was forced so that she wouldn't die. And so it wasn't about the power. It was about the like really the community of it and the challenges of being a vampire. Like you have to get sustenance from people, and it's hard to do, and you have to really consider, like, that was a very cool take. Yeah,
I agree.
Which we don't see very often. Yeah. Wow. Any last thoughts on this book, Hailey?
No, just, I guess, if you are listening to this and you made it this far and you haven't read the book, go freaking read it, you weirdo.
Yeah, go read it, for sure.
But also just, like, go read this book. Like, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, you know, the only thing I wish is that it is August, which for me, I'm usually decorating for Halloween right now, but if we had read this book in, like, September, October, that would have been peak, like, you know, reading time, because this is such a fall book. Like, it would have been it's a beautiful book to read in the fall. So now's the great time. If you haven't read it and you're somehow listening to this sentence that I'm telling you, like, read it in September, read it in October, if you can wait that long, because the vibe of this book is just peak fall East Coast, and it's really hard to beat that vibe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Great book. Great. Probably going to be my top 10, honestly, of this year, I would say. Yeah. Great. Well, if our listeners want to tell us what they thought of Education in Malice, you can give us an email. You can give us an email, or you can write us an email. It's booksandbeespod@gmail.com. You can also interact with us on Instagram at booksandthebeespod. We would love to chat with you either via email or in Instagram. So shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, let us know what you think, because we love talking about this book, and we'd be happy to carry the conversation on those two platforms as well, as well as Goodreads. But you can also go to our Goodreads, which is the Books and the Bees pod, and interface with us there. We're both a part of that community, and we'd love to chat with you there as well. You can also give us a review on your podcast listening app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other podcast app that you're using. It does help us get more listeners. People do look at that to see if they want to be guests on the pod, or hopefully advertisements in the future. So giving us a review really helps us, and it's free, and it takes about 15 seconds, and everybody can spare 15 seconds. So go do that, because we appreciate it.
Yes.
And then, of course, we'll give a big shout out to the American Indie for the use of their song Rendezvous for the intro and outro to our podcast. It's a great song, and they're doing great work, so go check them out on Spotify.
Well, with that, we hope you enjoyed this literary journey as much as we did. If you're buzzing with excitement, don't forget to subscribe, email us, and leave a high five-worthy review on your podcast listening app. Until next time, happy reading, and may your shelves be filled with tales as enchanting as a blooming garden. Keep the buzz alive, and we'll catch you in the next chapter. Bye for now.
Bye.